Here at the Heart of Glass podcast, it's our responsibility to make this the safest listening and viewing experience possible. So keeping that in mind, we do talk today in this interview both about suicide and about gun violence. So if you're sensitive to either of those topics, we put the minute markers in the description below, so feel free to just fast forward through those parts. And also, once this episode's over, please stick around for a preview of next week's episode. Welcome to the Heart of Glass podcast. Today is a very special day because it's our very first episode ever. So we're very excited. Awesome. And today's guest is someone that I'm extremely excited about. They are universally loved by everyone that I've ever met, and they're best known as being the very charismatic frontman for the Distant Cousinz. And when they're not tearing it up on the stage, they are a home health aide by day. Yep. And then they manage 2 Department of Developmental Disabilities homes by night. I just wanted to make sure I got that right because it's a little bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
To know him,
3 times real fast.
Exactly. To know him is to absolutely love him. So without further ado, I give you Corey, Big C Coley.
Big
Hello. C, I'm so excited to have you do this. Big C, it just happens to be one of my best friends and musical associates, and so I'm very excited because we know each other outside of this room.
True.
But I'm excited to get to know you better, and I think we can both agree, because we talked about it outside of this room, that the world generally has a very linear view of who you are as a person. And so what I'm excited to do today is, one, just learn more about you myself.
Awesome.
But I'm also really excited because I do know you on a deeper level, and I know that there is so much more to you than that charismatic frontman of the Distant Cousinz.
True.
And so that's what we're going to do today, because that's what we do here on Heart of Glass, is we get to know the people who make up the heartbeat of the Glass City, and you are definitely one of those people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it's our pleasure. So I first want to look back at your years growing up in Toledo, because you grew up in Toledo.
Correct.
And primarily thinking about that, I know many times when we've talked, you have said that you are not the same person that you were when you were younger.
Not at all. Not at all. I went through a period where my father got locked up while I was younger. He's always been an outstanding man, but he got locked up he was selling drugs, doing things he shouldn't have been doing. So I kind of had to grow up I had other male role models, but it's still not the same as having your father now. So I kind of grew up the middle-aged child out of 9. It's 4 older than me, 4 younger than me. My mom did a hell of a job raising us, but still 6 boys and 3 girls. So, and all of us was pretty husky. So I had to grow up, learning how to do things myself. So I decided to go weird routes periodically, and I kind of got into gang violence and all that stuff. But thank God somebody was praying for me, and I was like the prodigal son. I returned back home, so,
That's really interesting. Okay, so thinking about, based on what you described, you obviously are a very different person than you were. Obviously, our lives are kind of like a culmination of all of our experiences.
Yes.
So I, like probably a lot of the people that are watching and listening, hear you talk about gang violence, and it's very hard to picture that, because the guy that I know today, I know that you are fiery and passionate because you are a musician.
Absolutely.
But the human that I know today in you is a giant teddy bear.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think of you, I think of just warm and friendly and loving.
Aww.
Yeah. So
I try to be.
Yeah.
I think to a lot of, and this is no diss to any gamers, a lot of them, they do it for that love. For me, I was looking for that love from a male role model or a father figure to be like, oh yeah, good job. Good job that I was shooting at somebody, that's terrible. But right then and there, and it was crazy. I grew up in a strict religious home. Like, my mom never smoked, never drank, never anything. But sometimes I feel like she was too strict on us, and then other times I feel like, thank God she was strict on us. So, but I ventured out because I was a middle-aged child. I felt like nobody paid me attention, and I wanted that attention from my dad, but he was locked up. So I went and found, the leader of the gang, and I started doing some weird things, that I shouldn't have been doing. Thank God that I grew out of that, because It was fucked up. Oops. It was. I can say whatever. Right?
You can say it. Yes.
Okay.
We're putting a disclaimer on each and every video. We do not tolerate saying any kind of a slur or saying anything that would hurt another human being.
Absolutely.
But if you are a human being that swears normally, then we want you to just be yourself. So. Well, let me ask you this, okay? So it sounds like from what you said, you grew up in a very strict environment.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of times when you grow up in a strict environment like that you can kind of go one of two ways with it. You can really fall in line, and you're that
really
kid, yes, that does everything the way that they think they're supposed to, and then for some that anger builds up. And so do you feel like you were feeling a lot of pressure and feeling restricted by the strict nature of your upbringing?
I was feeling a lot of strict pressure, and I never really. My mom told me I have anger issues now. I don't think so. It's up for debate, but
sure.
I don't feel like anger was the reason why I started venturing out. I really feel like it was the love of a man, of a father role model, and of course my mom come from a family of 21.
Wow.
So I had uncles that could fulfill it, but it's something still not there as, that father male role model. And I went searching for it in, I guess, gangs. But again, I always grew up in church, and I already was singing in church, and then I ended up singing with a gang member. Like, it's kind of weird, but gang members sing. Some of them are very, very talented, and it's just that they got steered wrong, or, it's kind of hard to explain. But everybody has a story or a testimony. I just use everything I went through in life. I use it as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. So,
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you said that everybody has a story, because that's what this entire project was founded on, is the fact that everyone, I really do believe that everyone is the way that they are for a reason, and everyone has an amazing story to tell.
Absolutely.
So you're exactly right. Everybody has a story to tell.
I love it.
So
I wouldn't change anything I went through. I mean, I would change the fact that I got into some altercations or hurt people because of basically the color they were wearing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it groomed me and taught me to be the man and the father that I am today. So
that makes sense.
I embrace everything I went through. And again, I use it as a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. I look at the glass half full instead of half empty.
That makes sense, because that's who I think of when I think of you today, is a glass half full person.
This is good.
Exactly. Right? Well, you know what? Not to pause our roll a little bit, but I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about one of our sponsors.
Okay.
So one of our sponsors on the podcast is Toledo Spirits, and they make this awesome vodka called Heart of Glass.
Amazing.
And it was obviously a no-brainer for us to partner with them. Toledo Spirits is right here in downtown Toledo, and they're amazing, and we're so excited to be partnering with them. And every single guest that we have, as long as they are of age, we are serving them cocktails that include Heart of Glass.
Please have me back.
We absolutely will. And then our other sponsor that I definitely don't want to leave out, because they're helping our whole set to look cooler, is Jute Mode. Thank you. Wonderful. They are an apparel and merchandise company that are locally based here in Toledo, and they make amazing shirts. I'm wearing one of them right now. Every single podcast I'm going to be repping their apparel, and then they also were kind enough to give us glasses to serve our guests in them. So you'll see a variety of glasses from Jute Mode. So every glass that we serve Heart of Glass vodka in is going to be a Jute Mode product.
Right here in the 419,
That's
awesome.
That's exactly right. So the next thing I want to talk to you about, because I feel like it very much ties into what we were just talking about. It sounds like when you were growing up, you were dealing with a lot of mounting pressure.
Correct.
And initially, you didn't maybe handle it the best. But like you said, you're a very glass half full person. And so even if I'm assuming it wasn't necessarily like a sudden change for you, but maybe like a culmination of those experiences. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's very accurate. It was a gradual experience and gradual change. I grew up strict religion. I was in a choir, and I played the drums. I even tried to play the organ and the guitar because it was a little small storefront church, and the whole family was there. So I would literally be in church playing all the instruments, singing, and then still go home and get a whooping that night because I've done some stupid at church. So, but eventually I felt like my mom was strict. I went to church on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then choir rehearsal on Saturday. I'm like, jeez, God, like, but I thank God that now some of them same things that was instilled in me then, I use them now. But back then I didn't understand it. Like, oh, this is too much. I need out of here.
Yeah.
But now I thank God for them because they teach me and ground me and they keep me rooted in what I believe in. So
that makes sense. While I consider you to be, you're an extremely real person. It's one of the reasons I love you. You're also a very principled, ethical person. It's another reason I love you. The way I see you is you operate out of, you just want to put good out into the world.
Absolutely.
And it's very evident in every aspect of that.
Yeah, I really try to put good out into the world. We don't always get it back, but if I can just reach one person, it means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like if I could reach one person who was ready to give up, who was ready to throw in the towel, because I was there. I actually thought about suicide one time. I was 16. And the sad part is, I had a mother at home who wanted me to come home, but I wanted to be a thug so bad. So I'm 16, sitting on the side of a Kingdom Hall on Richards Road with a gun. Like, fuck this, I want to kill myself. And it was stupid. I don't even know. The sad part is, I don't even know why, because I could have went home. My mom just told me she didn't want me in gangs. So I was literally being homeless when I didn't have to be homeless per se. So it was just like, and I wouldn't change anything that I went through because I teach my 4 children that they never had to deal with that kind of stuff. I always, even now, before this started, my son called me and he's 21 now and he goes, love you, Dad, be safe, love you. And that's just something we do. Like we don't never, even when I'm mad at them or even when I used to whoop their butt, I was there, I love you. They probably think like, you beat the hell out of me, how do you love me? But I tell them I chastise him because I love him. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't care. I would let you do whatever. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because a lot of what I've been hearing you say, especially with thinking about the church involvement, which you and I both share that.
Absolutely.
And especially when if you either have parents that are in a prominent position in the church, or if you're on a leadership team, it has that glass house effect.
Absolutely.
Where you feel like all eyes are on you. And
at all times.
Yes, exactly. So with that in mind, I want to talk about something that you and I have had many conversations about. And I think it'll be really good for our listeners and our viewers to hear you talk about this because I think it's so very relevant. So thinking about the concept of pressure, you and I have talked many times about how people tend to have a very linear view of you, and you're expected to drive the energy in the room, and you're viewed as a perpetually upbeat person who is constantly smiling. And from the conversations that we've had in the past, I know that you're very acutely aware that that's how people see you. So having that knowledge, what kind of pressure does that put on you to feel like you have to put forth that image 100% of the time, even when you're not feeling the best?
I always use the term, to whom much is given, much is required. With that being said, sometimes I've had a horrible day. Like I'm talking about horrible. Again, I work with the MRDD, and I work with the Home Health Aide. So some of them are totally paralyzed. Then I have 2 daughters and 2 sons who haven't always been the greatest. I love them to death, but that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've had so many different family issues. Then I got a gig that night, and I'm the type, I go through relationship problems because I'm a Virgo, so I'm a Virgo, and I like things. I really do like things my way. Like our love is so misunderstood, but when we love hard. So and then being the front man of a band, sometimes you get a bad, he's a hoe or he's a, you know what I'm saying? And it's not the case, but we still get that. You say. We still get that label sometimes. With that being said, though, so if I have a show that night, so many people are used to me hugging and smiling, and sometimes I really just want to sit in the corner. But if I do that, I feel like people are like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And so I don't know. I mean, I feel like energies are transferable as well. So sometimes me smiling makes that other person reciprocate that smile. And that actually brings me back. That brings me back up. But sometimes it is a lot of pressure to, initially when you're going into a spot and you really don't feel like singing one damn note, you really don't feel like doing none of that. But eventually, halfway through that first set, you be like, you know what? I thank God for this, because the music is, well, you know, as a musician, sometimes music is the outlet. Like, all my jobs, that music is the outlet. And when you get a crowd who, they may have been through something even more intense than what you have. And when you just see them, like literally, I've seen people cry while I'm singing and come up and hug me and be like, oh my God, I just lost my husband and you just gave me confirmation through him that, and I'm like, that was weird as hell, but all right, sweetheart. Like, and it's amazing, you know, and it makes me feel good. And I'm like, okay, that's why I do this. Like sometimes the love I get from people that cannot touch their mom, because I make decent money doing it. Well, you know, we make decent money doing this. Yeah. But sometimes the love and the respect you get from people from it is bigger than any price on it. And so I think I got a little off the question, but
no, it's great. It's perfect. It's perfect.
With that being said, it is sometimes it is a lot of pressure, even with church, even stuff in church. Like most of the time, like I grew up in church. I've always operated. I've been the minister of music. I've been the head of praise and worship. I've been a drummer. I've been a keyboardist, and I don't know nothing about a keyboard. And I used to think. So, and I've been background singers of all these things. I've also been the head of security, where I've traveled with pastors. And in churches, especially black churches, it's really strict. You have to really come in there. You can't go in there looking angry or whatever. You have to come in there kind of with a smile. And sometimes I just wanted to lay on the altar and be like, God, help me. But then you frown upon, oh, I wonder what he did last night. He laying on the altar. He must have messed with sister so-and-so. So it's like, it's almost like you deal with all that in the back of your mind. Like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But,
well, I don't know how it is for you, but for me personally, I always think about, I heard somebody at some point say, you know, you need to check on your happy friends. Yeah. Your friends that seem happy, because oftentimes they're some of the loneliest, most people who feel the most isolated. Because for me, that can kind of become like an insular thing where you almost feel trapped in that. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Because I have an ex who always like, you got friends that adore you and love you. But I think with me being a middle-aged child, I always felt left out, and I'm also a loner. So where it may seem, for example, yesterday was Easter. I don't know where that's here. So anyways, Easter just passed. And I had to work. And then when I got off, I was supposed to spend some time with family. But I found enjoyment just being by myself.
And see, I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't realize about a lot of people like you who are very charismatic, who are that front man. You actually lean more towards being an introvert. And most people wouldn't realize that.
They would never know it.
No. Like, see, this is a perfect example of why I want to do this.
People really think that I'm, how you say, extrovert or whatever.
Yes,
and that's just part of the
You can be good with people and be an introvert.
I'm really more laid back and rather sit at home and not do nothing, but because people think I'm there. Like, even some of my close dudes think like, oh bro, come on, you gotta go. I really do want to be like, no, I just want to chill. I don't want to play with my toenails and throw them or something, you know what I mean? But, you know, they think I'm the life of the party, so then I put on that mask like, ah. But in reality, I really just want to stay at home and don't do nothing and just relax. And so I have a bad habit. I don't watch a lot of TV unless I get caught up in the show. Yeah. I really just listen to a lot of music, or sometimes I just do, I guess you can call it meditate, where I just sit and think. I think about a lot of things that I've done the day before. I'm always the top of the next day. I think about like, okay, how could I have done that better? Oh man, I shouldn't have said that to that person. And my mind goes like,
you're very introspective.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I might need to call and apologize to that person. Or did I handle that right? So I literally spend half of my day doing that. So, and I've always been taught like a mind is a terrible things away. So I really keep myself busy, because if I don't keep myself busy, my mind will get to.
I'm the exact same way.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people ask me when I sleep, because I work 2 jobs. I have 4 kids. I have 3 grandkids. And I run a band. And I practice in between that. So it's like, it's a lot. But I love it and I thank God for it. But I am getting to the age to where I have to
chill out a little bit.
Chilling out and enjoying the family and enjoying me.
Right.
I really have. I'm learning that. I've been going through therapy lately, and I'm learning that I'm no good to nobody else until I learn how to be good to me.
That's
that's
so
something
true.
that I'm really learning, to just have time for me. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally know what you're saying. I feel like when I'm not working on myself, which, I mean, we all go through periods where we're not. I mean,
Absolutely.
For a variety of reasons. But I just will find myself getting very internal, and my thoughts are just spinning, and I feel like it almost becomes a thing where my positivity is almost toxic, because I'm so hell-bent on finding the glass half full in things that I won't let myself actually acknowledge, this is hurting and it could probably use some attention. So I totally get what you're saying.
And that's one thing that, as a man and a black man, that I do a lot. Sometimes I've been known to bottle up my hurt, and that's not healthy for nobody. Big 6'3", 350-pound man bottling up that, it can explode at any time. We're like, whoa, what the fuck? I didn't see this coming, big C. So that's something through therapy and counseling I've learned, you can release that. And there's ways you can talk that out. And because as musicians, we channel everything through music. And sometimes
and we're very emotion driven.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it'll come out like, yo, they was killing, but they was like, nah.
Yeah.
It's R&B, it's song, you made it turn into a rock, death metal. So I'm like, nah, nah, nah. Like, so it's certain things that we take out. We expect everything to be forced through music. And sometimes that's a help, but then on other end, you really need someone to talk to, and you really need, and that's why I've always admired you and appreciate our relationship, because I can call you and talk to you about anything, and we laugh, we cry.
Absolutely.
Then we be like, dude, okay, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Bye. So it's always good to have them friends who has no judgment zone, but they also want to tell you where you're messing up at, so.
That is another thing that I appreciate about you so much, is you're the most compassionate, empathic empathic person ever. But you're also the very first person to be like, hey, I love you, and because I love you, you really should stop doing this shit because it's hurting you, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I try to be, another thing that I've been going to therapy about, and I always be like, I'm a brutally honest person. And then, so my therapist is like, what if you start taking the brutal part off it? I'm like, okay, that's good. So that's what I'm practicing on doing now. Like, I can still be as honest as ever, but why do I have to put the brutal? Because you don't have to talk to people nasty to get your point across. You
Honesty with grace.
Yeah. Honey draws bees more than vinegar.
That's very true. So obviously you're a very relational person. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, like me.
I got a harem of
just adoring fans.
You've met some of them.
I really have. I have met some of them.
Oh God.
but you really are a very relational person. People are important to you. Your family's important to you.
Absolutely.
Our city is important to you.
Absolutely.
And the upward growth that we have. So thinking about just your experience in the city, you're somebody that looks to others to see how to either learn from their mistakes and grow from that, or look at them as an example of how to experience upward growth. Exactly. So that being said, we have just an unbelievable amount of incredible people that make up our glass city who are innovators and compassionate people who are fiercely in favor of just the continual upward growth in Toledo. So thinking about our community, I would love to know who someone is in our community that you look at as, wow, they really inspire me to be the best version of themselves, or even if it's not a single person.
I think that all of my friends, all of my peers, there's no single person. Like, I'm the type of person, like you just said, if even my foes, the people that hate me, that makes me want to do better, to show them like, aha, you said I couldn't, but I can. And then also like you and then Nicole Curry and all them different people, like, just to see y'all passion in the job that y'all do, and then get up there and still kill it on stage, that inspires me. And I literally go every time. It's bad because when it's hard in music scene.
Yeah.
Toledo has a huge music scene, so it's hard to get out and see everyone. But when you do get a chance to see, I always try to pick out something of a show I see to take back to my band. And they probably, we have practice, they look like, where the hell did this come from? It's from something I've seen. And I try to take that and apply it to what we have. And we can nurture it and do it our own way. So I'm not totally stealing that from somebody, but I think that I like to just add everybody that I'm around, and I try to bring joy. And I like that feeling being reciprocated. You know what I mean? Like, so I couldn't say there's one or two people, and I don't mean to name drop, but
yeah,
it's so many people that I look and I'm like, oh my God, like that, they're a blessing to me. Like, they're blessing my soul right now. You know, especially church musicians, we be like, oh.
Would you like me to take my shoe off and just chuck it at you right now?
So it's almost like you get that feeling like, oh. So I can't really pinpoint one person, but I would honestly say somebody who inspires me the most is everybody I'm around. Whether it's good or bad, everybody I'm around inspires me to either not do that, because I've seen people go off at their shows, even over the mic, and I'm like, ugh. And I see the crowd reaction. At the end of the day, we do this because we love it, but we're doing it for our fans as well. So we got to make sure there's a fine line to almost like the customer is right type stuff. So you got to make sure that you're supplying the customer with what they want and what they need at that moment.
Your answer is not surprising to me, because you just the way that I've heard you talk the entire time I've known you about the impact that people have on your life, you literally encompass little touches of all the people that you look up to, that you admire. And it kind of sounds like you're saying you look at them and you're like, okay, I really admire this quality.
Absolutely.
Want to encompass this. And so you're like this beautiful eclectic blend of everything I love about Toledo. Seriously.
That's why I wore my Toledo hat. And I'm having a bad hair day. So.
Yeah, this is a come as you are kind of space.
Okay.
It really is.
This is very sexy here.
Thank you. We tried. We tried. We tried very hard to make it sexy.
Leg, but it was gonna hurt to try to do it. So
well, we don't want you to be in pain. We want you to relax here.
But we have some painkiller.
Once again, Heart of Glass vodka. We can promote as I don't think they're gonna mind. Yeah, we can promote this as much as possible. Heart of Glass vodka.
And it's
really should try it.
Smooth.
It is
very smooth, and you know some things be smooth and you can't feel. It's smooth and you feel it.
You can feel it. It's so smooth you can feel it.
Feeling.
There's a new tagline. It's so smooth you can feel it.
I like that.
So you mentioned your bands.
Yes.
So let's talk about
Cousinz.
the Distant Cousinz, because I would be so remiss if we didn't talk about the Distant Cousinz, because while we obviously know that Big C Coley, the musician, is not all that you are, it's a big part of who you are.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Distant Cousinz. So correct me if I'm wrong, you helped co-found it in 2008, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So it's been running for a long time. And
absolutely.
I will say this, I've followed you guys for a long time. I know we're very close friends, but also genuinely I'm a huge fan, and you know that.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, your band is playing my wedding. Yes, I've been your bouncer.
It's amazing.
So one thing that I'll say, obviously the Distant Cousinz, when you have is that 14 years?
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah, wow, okay. So obviously, when you have a band that has that much staying power, you're gonna experience lineup changes. It's very normal in any band.
You experience a lot of ups and downs.
Absolutely.
Me, Scott Fish. The name came from me, Scott Fish, a very great musician and singer here in Toledo. Me, Scott Fish, and my cousin Ivan. Me and Scott Fish worked at this plant called First Solar, and I'm like, who's this weird white dude playing that damn guitar in the break room? And I mean, that was my words. This dude is weird over there strumming the guitar. And then one day he started playing, he was singing. I'm like, oh, this white dude got soul. And he started playing Stand By Me. And I started singing, and he was like, dude, you got an amazing voice. You should come to my house to record. Mind you, I've heard that all my life. I've recorded on different rappers, background, or done different gospel things. Okay, this is different. There's a white dude over to come over. I'll do it. Why not? So I went over there, me and my cousin Ivan, because we just love hearing ourselves back on the, and Scott Fish wanted to name the tracks we were doing. He was like, dude, what can we name it? And we was like, because he has so much catalog. The dude is like a musical genius. He has so much catalog. And my cousin, I was like, distant cousins. We all distant cousins. And he's a very spiritual guy. He's like, one way or the other, we are distant cousins anyway, because Adam, he got
just
deep.
like went deep
with it.
Deep,
and I'm like, dude, I'm drunk. I don't know if we should really be talking about spiritual and stuff right now, and that's how the name came about.
Okay.
But Scott Fish taught me everything, and I will always give him his respect and give him his flowers while he's still alive. He taught me everything I know about the business, and I feel like I tweaked it and made it a little bit better. And we bumped heads a couple times, but I still love him.
That's normal though, right?
Yeah, that's normal. It's so normal. And plus, both of us are Virgos, so we bumped heads as Virgos as well. So
okay.
And but I still love him. He's still doing his thing. He has a couple of projects. He does Scott Fish and his wife, his lovely wife Molly. They do their own duo. Then he has a couple of other projects. And me and him, we started it, and it just kept on growing and growing and growing. And then 5 years ago, the band kind of took a split, and Scott Fish went one way. He wanted to do more because he's an amazing writer. And he wanted to do more original stuff, and we bumped heads over. He wanted to do more original stuff, and I kind of wanted to still do a lot of the cover stuff, because in Toledo, there's not a lot of places that support the original.
That's true.
If you want to stay busy.
Yes,
so that's
true.
You have to ask yourself, do you want to stay busy or do you want to be original? And I was at the point where I love staying busy. I want to do them both, but right now I know how to make the money per se, you know what I'm saying? I know what to do to get my foot in the door. And then once you got your foot in there and you grab them and your talent grab them, then you can throw original in here and there.
Definitely.
And they don't know, you know what I mean?
Well, we've talked about covers a lot though, and obviously I'm gonna be a little bit biased because I play in the cover scene like you do. But we've talked about how you can still make a cover your own, because there's a difference between copying a song and covering a song.
And I think that's what makes us unique. We'll take a country song. It's so crazy. Because we'll go somewhere and I'll be the first, because I'm the one with all the equipment and stuff. So we'll go somewhere and I'll start setting up, and people are like, what the fuck? Are they about to rap or whatever? And then I get to sing in Tennessee Whiskey, and they're like, what? So I love it that we give them something, and I think it keeps people around, because, Caden is a skinny white dude who's amazing on the guitar and his vocals. And I told him he was like a saving, because I was about to get Distant Cousinz after Scott Fish left. I was thinking like, he was the perfect front man. I'm never gonna find someone who plays the guitar and could be a front man and can sing, because me and Scott meshed so well. And I understand that he had to go, but I felt like this is my baby. I don't want to let Distant Cousinz go. Like, I helped make this, and my cousin never did even come out and do nothing with us. He got married and he got like 6 kids now. Jeez, dude.
Wow.
And plus he's a preacher, so he just he never really wanted to be out in the bars.
Well, you guys also play kind of late on Saturday nights, so.
So he had to get up and go to church, and I get that. But
you mentioned Caden.
But I love Caden, man.
Yeah.
He was like a saving grace. He came. I originally went to him because we had a lot of gigs lined up. And I'm like, we ain't got no guitarist, man. And so I seen him a couple times at open mic at Martini and Lucy's.
Yeah.
And I seen him there. He was 17 when he first started playing with us. I think he was about to turn 18, and I went to him and was like, I just need you. And he was so humble, cool, and he was really acting older than what he was.
Yeah.
And he was like, is it okay if I sing a song or two? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Then he sang and played. I'm like, oh my God, I love him.
You weren't expecting that to come out of him.
I wasn't expecting him. And it's me and him. I call him my brother and my son. Like, me and him have a very tight relationship. We also me and him have a duo show. Like, so we have, outside of the Distant Cousinz, we're still Distant Cousinz, but we have a duo show that we do as well. And
I'm glad you mentioned the nature of your relationship with him, because it's actually one of the things I wanted to touch on. Mm-hmm. You and Caden, when I think about you and Caden as an entity, it makes me smile immediately, because
I love that.
The dynamic that the two of you have, honestly, heartwarming is the word that I would think of it. You can tell there's so much mutual respect, and you can tell that he looks at you as like an older brother or almost like a father figure, and that he really, really respects you and soaks up what you tell him. And it seems like vice versa. It seems like you learn from him too.
To be so young, he's a very wise.
I agree with you.
He's a very wise, and he's very well-rounded. Do he make mistakes? Of course, we all do. I make mistakes, and I'm double his age. So, but when we get together, the magic we make with just me and him sitting down and talking, and we've had, like, he's one of my close friends the way you are.
Yeah.
I love him to death, Like I always say that he was the saving grace. He was like a fallen angel that saved us. And so now I'm a firm believer that he's a distant cousins. Like he's a rock with us, and I love it.
So thinking about him coming into the band, obviously he's a key part of what gives y'all your sound. Yeah. But thinking about the fact that you guys really have had some significant lineup changes over the years, and all of your lineups have been great. I've been enjoying Distant Cousinz for years.
Yep, you've seen
with the
everybody
changes
come
of it.
and go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Now, looking at your current lineup right now, Caden included, what makes this current lineup so special? Because you can tell when you go out to hear you guys play, there is a special factor there that you can't manufacture it. You can't manufacture that rapport that you guys have together, and you just keep coming out with newer, more innovative ideas. So what makes this lineup so special?
I honestly think it's the love we have for each other, and the love we have for each and every one of us have a different something we bring to the table. And what we've learned is we can't judge what you bring to the table, what I bring to the table, what you bring to the table. We just put it in a pot, stir it together, and make magic. You know, I think that's the thing that makes us different than a lot of other bands, because I literally come from a background of R&B and gospel. But after now, you catch me singing country and rock, and I love it. Like, my kids get in my car sometimes like, dude, what are you listening to? I'm like, don't touch my radio, bro. Like, so it's kind of weird, but I love it. And I think that's the same. That Caden comes from more of a classical and a jazz background, and then he has the prettiest voice.
Yeah.
And then we blend all that together with my raspiness and my R&B and his classical, and we put that in harmony. It's amazing. And then we got Dale, who really started out with us on the drums, and he's broadened his horizon, and now he plays bass fluently. Like, and then we still have Kenny Hines. We call him the Funk Master. Anybody know Kenny talk like this? Kenny talk like he does. Supposed to play the bass. He'd be like, man. But Kenny is so much fun to have, so much energy, and he holds it down. So I think the hardest part is sometimes choosing, because we have so many different people, choosing who to play. And then we have my keyboardist, we call him Big Slim, because he's like 6'4", 6'5", and he's about 90 pounds.
He's taller than you.
Yeah, he's taller than me, but he's so effortless, good. Like, and I think, to me, when you kill the ego, it's so much room for everything else to. Ego, to me, in a band is almost like poison on a rose.
It's like a death sentence,
yeah,
really.
You're not giving yourself enough time to bloom, because that ego is going to kill it. It's like ripping the petals off. And I just think right now we're at the point to where we're literally killing all the ego and trying to learn each other and trying to love and respect each other for what we bring to the table.
I love that. I love you guys. We could probably have an entire episode just talking about the band, because there's so much. I mean, just like you, all of the members of Distant Cousinz are so unique and bring something so special to the table. And so I love talking to you about it every time, because I feel like I do learn something new about Distant Cousinz collectively every time.
And our drummer, I have to give him a shout.
Please, yes.
Keith is our drummer, and he's my brother. I always call him. People say we look like twins. I'm just a fat version of Keith. I think I look a little better than my smile is better. But anyway, that's my little bro, and I love him to death. But he never played in a band. Like, we've been trying to get Keith for years.
You're kidding me.
Keith is straight church. Like, he
grew ridiculous.
A lot of us grew up in church, but that's all he knew. So for the longest, he was like, "Am I too loud?" Now I gotta tell him, like, "Dude, like, you killing, but nah, bro." Like, but he's one of the baddest drummers I ever met in my life, and he's so humble about it. He's not, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him." Like, he still acts a little nervous. I'm like, "Dude, like, you got this." And I think that part is what makes us. Like, the fact that we all still go. I think we were talking about it earlier before the cameras rolling. Like, having that little bit of nervousness going on the stage, I think that humbles us.
It's a good thing. It reminds you, at least for me, it's like a really good indicator that, okay, you know, you still realize that this is kind of this is a big thing that you're going into, and you don't deserve this opportunity. You know what I mean? So it does kind of make you keep things in perspective. You know, I was thinking while you were talking about Caden and then talking about Keith, I really feel like your, I guess, callings in life, because I've seen it play out so many times, is you're very good at being the almost like fertilizer for people's gifts. Like, I feel like when you care about somebody, or you look at these younger guys in your band, you look at them as, wow, you know, I'm not going to be around here forever. None of us are going to be here forever. Mm-hmm. So what can I do in my time here to foster their talent? And not just their talent. This is another thing I'll say about your band as a whole. Some of the classiest people I have met. Y'all are classy.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I truly mean it. Y'all are mutually supportive of other musicians in the community. And I generally see your band as a whole, as a group that it lifts other people up. And I feel like while everybody obviously plays their very important part, mm-hmm. you're kind of the base of it all, lifting everybody up.
I used to always tell them I'm a PR representative. Like, so
you absolutely
everybody
are.
comes to me with the problems too, and I'm glad that I'm not the type of person who's like, oh, that's fucked up. I'm very transparent. I'm like, well, you got to look at it from this standpoint.
Yeah.
So sometimes, again, that goes back to the stress part of it too. Sometimes, oh God,
it's like a lot of weight on your shoulders, right?
But again, to whom much is given, much is required. So
absolutely.
I try to handle it, and I really, really pride myself on being fair. I try to always be fair.
I very much see you as a fair person.
I try to be fair, and I never try to take anyone's shine. I'd rather sit in the background and let them shine more, because when they shine, to me, it's still just like now. When my kids go out and do good and shine, it's a reflection on me as well.
Like a proud papa. Same thing with your band. They can see that.
When they go, like, I had vocal cord surgery 2 years ago, and I was out for like almost 4 months. And I'm scared, because I know most people used to seeing my big ass on the stage smiling or whatever. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? And the band held it down. It was a couple times you called me like, you would be so proud of them.
Yes.
Like, because I was scared, because sometimes when bands take a hiatus or whatever, they never come back. But they did good. It was amazing.
But see, I think that speaks to what I was just talking to you about, is that you are that base to build them up. I mean, you help them to believe in themselves, so that even when you're not there, they still feel like they're capable. That's
awesome.
That speaks volumes about you.
And I appreciate it, love them all. I always let them know too, because sometimes I think as leaders, you was a leader of a band, mm-hmm. of a couple of them, and I think as leaders, I have to always make sure I tell them I appreciate, even though I pay them very well, mm-hmm. I still tell them I appreciate and love them, because they could be with anybody else. They can go do, like, we all got different projects going on. So to be able to keep, and we're literally playing almost every weekend. Distant Cousinz is playing every freaking weekend. If it's not me and Caden, it's the full band. And we also have another person, Trez Gregory. She's amazing. She's that's the person I look up to too. She's just so busy. I want to be like her when I grow up. You know what I mean? Like, Trez
she's
travels
amazing.
And she does everything she wants to do, but she got too big for Distant Cousinz.
You know what's amazing,
but she comes
though?
Back and does
exactly. She knows she can always come home.
She always come home, and I teach my kids that as well. Like, whenever you leave anywhere on good terms, there's a pretty big chance that you can come back.
Yes.
And so I love that part of it. And I plan on. My daughter asked me the other day, because I canceled a gig for the first time ever for my grandbaby, and she was like, "You ain't even do that for me." She was like, "Dad, you think you're going to be doing this?" Because I'm 43.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Dad, you think you're going to be doing this in your 50s? I said, "I plan on doing this until I die." Either, you know what I'm saying? Even if it's just still locally, if it somehow somebody see this or hear this and it goes nationally, I plan on doing it until I die, because this is my passion. And I think music helps bridge the gap between relationships, mm-hmm. races, genders, all that. I think music just, it can smooth out anything. They got a song for every fucking thing.
They really do.
For everything.
It's true.
When I literally on my phone got a playlist for sex, playlist when I want to be sad, playlist for worship, playlist exactly turn up. That's when I'm getting dressed.
Yes.
So music, there's some type of music for every situation in your life.
Absolutely. So thinking about the fact that you are that strong base that lifts other people up, mm-hmm. and is always there for anyone when they need anything. I can think about multiple instances in my own life where I have called you up and been like, "Hey, I don't really have time to tell you much, but can you please help me?" And without knowing details, you've been like, "Yes, I will be right there." So That's very
I try
much
to
who
be.
you are. So thinking about that, if you're okay with it, I want to talk about a time where you were forced to take a back seat.
Okay.
In that you were in a position where you had to let others lift you up.
Okay.
So looking back at 2016, your brother very tragically and suddenly lost his life.
Absolutely.
And I know that had a profound impact on you, and I know that very much changed how you view relationships around you.
It did.
So my first question to you is, one, what was that like for you going through that?
I didn't know it at first that it affected me as much as it did, because I used to work in a school. I used to be therapist. I didn't have the proper credentials, so I was an underpaid therapist at a school, and I also was a para. And I started seeing the relationships I had with the other teachers and even the kids. This smile wasn't as smiley then. It was like I can remember a kid was like, "I'm telling my daddy," and my exact words to the kid, "I don't give a fuck. Go get your daddy." And that's when one of my friends pulled me to the side. It was like, "Is you okay?" So it was really because my brother, me and him, we were close. Like, I'm close with all my family members, but I'm still a loner. But I'm close with all of them. And he was the one right next to me. Yeah. So I'm 43. Terrence would have been 41 this year, I believe. And he was my roommate, because 9 kids. My mama didn't have that kind of money, so he was one of my roommates the whole time. And it was weird because when he died, I didn't really believe it. And
was he kind of almost like he was frozen in your head?
Absolutely.
He's just out there
because
doing this right now.
Because he was where I thought I was a thug and I wanted to do the gang stuff, he was a real life thug, and you would have thought we was raised by 2 different people, but he had a big heart. So I think my mom installed in us to always love and care, but he just always was like on the edge type guy, but he had a huge heart, but he got into a little trouble and he would get locked up periodically. So in my head, for the longest, I would just be like, he locked up during a little year or two. And that's how I coped with it. But once I start snapping on people and I realized, this is not me. Like, normally I snap on people when I get mad. Now I'm just snapping because you look stupid. You know what I mean? So and that's what really got me into therapy. I love it. Like I haven't been since COVID. I haven't been in because they was doing the Zoom call. Yeah. But prior to COVID, my therapist, I think, was getting tired because I was going to them like, my toenail fell off and, I think it's connected to. They was like, what the fuck? Like, so, Mr. Coley, you went over your time about 15 minutes, but I would encourage anyone to go to therapy. It's a lot of people, especially men, we think that it's soft. It's one of the best decisions. It has made me such a better person to go to therapy. And you can say I was crazy, you can say I wasn't, but I love therapy, and that's what helped me. And that's when I found out Toledo really stuck by me.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because you were very much in a position. Normally, it's you that is there for everyone, no matter the circumstance. What was that like for you to have to say, "Hey, I genuinely need help"?
It was embarrassing at first because that's a lot of things. A lot of people don't understand, especially when you live in a quote unquote thug life. Get insurance because you live in it's bad enough you live in that life, but then you go and do whatever you may have to do, or you end up dying, and that burden is left on the family. And so me and my family didn't have enough money to bury him. And it was embarrassing as hell. So I shot Nicole Curry and Jim Metler. I always tell them both I'm forever indebted to them. But I shot them a message like, I need help. Like, I don't know what to do. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I perform 1 million years straight for free or whatever. He said, Nicole and Jim said, say less. They put a program together with a concert, and it was to benefit my brother, and it was also benefit gun violence. So my brother died he was high and he was playing with the gun, and he's always been a gun toter or whatever. I'm a licensed carrier. I don't play with a gun, but he's always been a gun toter. But he dropped a magazine out and thought that he forgot what was one in the chamber, and he was with my other brother and nephew, and he was like, he was like, ain't nothing in there. And when he pulled the trigger, shot him in the back of his head. And so Nicole and her team put together something about gun violence and whatnot.
Yeah.
And all the proceeds went towards me and the burial of my brother. And it was even enough money to get him a headstone and all that. And I was able to give his kids some money to help them or whatever. And it's very hard to get me emotional. And that really touched my heart. It touched my mom's heart. And it just let me know that even though Toledo musicians, sometimes there's a lot of backbite, but when it's time, we all go together and make shit happen.
I agree with you.
And it made my heart so overfilled with joy, and I'm forever grateful and thankful for everybody that chipped into that. And it just changed my perspective on the musician. Because at first, sometimes you look at, oh, this motherfucker did it. But now it changed my perspective that these people have hearts too, and they love, just because they don't speak the same way I do or smile all the time like me.
Right.
They're just bold enough to show theirs that I'm not feeling smiley today.
Right.
And I respect each and every one of them. And like I said, they made me so proud and happy to be able to say I can call a lot of them friends.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, I love it.
So earlier, towards the beginning when we were talking, we were talking about that whole isolated, feeling lonely thing when you have that whole burden on your shoulders to
Absolutely
be that happy person for everyone around you. So knowing that you were able to lay that down and thinking about the isolation, lonely factor, and having the knowledge that that people love you, but when you're feeling low, that doesn't sink in so much. What was that like for you to see that physical manifestation of how much you're truly, truly loved?
That was amazing because I didn't know it. And even the person I was dating at the time was like, dude, these people love you. I was like, and it really it was a weight off my shoulder. It literally was like I'm a big dude. It really felt like people was just holding me up.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the most, I will never forget that feeling, ever. Like, and to this day, some people still come and show me love that I met that day. And I think it's a video out there on YouTube or something, and every once in a while I look at that video and just be like, this is amazing, this is really dope. Like, these people came out at what I felt was one of my lowest times in my life and helped support me. They didn't know my brother, but they done it for the love of me. And and it's hard, again, I'm not an emotional person, but I cried with my mom. We had enough money to bury him and do a little extra with because of what Toledo music scene did for my family. And I will forever be grateful for that. Like, it was amazing.
You are incredibly loved. It's kind of ridiculous.
Thank you.
When I said in the beginning, I've literally never met a person that doesn't love you and respect you. You are incredibly loved. I love you so much. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. This is a blast. I love it.
I couldn't have asked for a better person to be the very first guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Big C Coley, everyone. If you would, please look right at this camera and tell people where they can find you on social media.
I'm Corey, Big C Coley. On Facebook. I think on Instagram, I'm Big C Coley. But also, my band page is Distant Cousinz with a Z at the end of Cousins. Follow us. We're playing somewhere almost every weekend. Pretty sure every weekend. And we would love to see your lovely face.
Thinking about the fact that your episode, our very first one, is going to drop on June 1st. Okay. Is there an event that you especially would like to rep in June?
That week, June 4th, our band will be at the OLPH Festival. Please come out and support. I'm not sure of the time. I don't have my phone in front of me, but I'm thinking like maybe 7-ish. But it's the OLPH. Make sure you check their page. But it's the OLPH Festival on June 4th. That's that Saturday, I believe.
Amazing.
Thank you to all of you that are watching, listening, however you're tuning in today. We're going to be dropping a preview of the next episode next week, so keep an eye out for that. We would absolutely love it if you would follow us on all of our social media. Every single one of our platforms, the username, the handle is @heartofglassthepod. Make sure if you're watching us on YouTube to hit that subscribe button. And our social media and YouTube is where you can keep track of all of our podcast news.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. Thank you again. Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you.
And to all of you, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Thank you for being here in the
in the Heart of Glass podcast living room. We love all of you and thank you for tuning in to learn a little bit more and dig deeper on one of our people that make up the heartbeat of the Glass City. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon.
Love you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Please stick around for a preview of next week's episode. So how were you able to, with still being such a high achiever, keep that at the forefront of your mind while also keeping your personal life and family life balanced?
To me, really, friends and family are everything. I wouldn't be where I am without the support of everybody. You know, I have the unique experience of having run a political campaign, which was awful. But man, did I have friends and family come out of the woodwork that helped me, whether it was walking in a parade or wearing a shirt or standing out in the cold on election day. You know, when you realize I am if I were to describe myself in one word, I'm extremely loyal.
Yeah, you are.
And
you really
like
are.
to a fault sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to that, it's like when I see what all of these other people do for me, I need to reciprocate that in a million different ways, whether it's cooking dinners or doing whatever. So I think that having that is